Hey ladies and gentlemen, welcome back. You're counting change after a quick stop at the servo, and one unassuming Australian dollar coin in your hand could quietly be worth up to 18,000 bucks, enough to change your whole collecting game. In this video on the Coin Studio, we expose 5 jaw-dropping Aussie $1 treasures hidden in plain sight, from the iconic 1986 pea stove to the blazing 2008 Scouting flame, packed with history, rarity, and massive collector demand right across Australia. Stick around as we dive deep into their stories and skyrocketing values. Let's hunt some real treasure. Number 5. The 2008 Australian $1 coin, marking the Centenary of Scouting, slips into view like a quiet emblem of youthful adventure and steadfast service that has endured across a full century on Australian soil. Produced at the Royal Australian Mint in Canberra and fed into the nation's circulating currency with a total output of 17.2 million pieces that quickly dispersed from bustling city post offices to isolated country stores. Crafted in the reliable aluminium-bronze alloy, measuring 25 millimeters across and weighing 9 grams, this coin carries the weight of a movement that took root in 1908, when the first scouting troops began forming in bush settings from Victoria to Western Australia, teaching skills of resilience, teamwork, and respect for the land under the wide southern skies. Its obverse holds the mature fourth portrait of Queen Elizabeth II by Ian Rank Broadley, the monarch gazing right with composed dignity while wearing the sparkling girls of Great Britain and Ireland tiara. The surrounding legend reading Elizabeth II Australia 2008 in clear capital letters. And the initials ERB appearing just below the neckline as a subtle mark of the designer's hand. Flip the piece and the reverse bursts with symbolic energy. The Australian spirit flame takes center stage. A stylist fleur-de-lis adapted for local scouts that weaves in the 5 stars of the Southern Cross constellation within its flowing form. The flames rising upward as if fed by campfires. From 100 years of outdoor challenges and community deeds. Arcing over the top sit the words Centenary of Scouting, with the dates 1908 and 2008 positioned on either side like sentinels bridging past and present, while Scouts Australia rests below in solid lettering and the denomination $1 anchors the base, all enclosed by a delicate beaded rim that adds quiet definition. No mint mark disturbs the surface because every example emerged from the Canberra presses, and the edge delivers the classic pattern of 7 smooth segments alternating with 7 reeded ones, each reeded section carrying 11 distinct grooves that offer an unmistakable feel when the coin turns slowly between thumb and finger during examination. Australian coin enthusiasts and those who hunt through jars of accumulated change or old envelopes from family estates know this scouting tribute as a piece whose fine condition survivors demand attention precisely because so many met the rough realities of daily use in school canteens, market stalls, and roadside servos where they passed from hand to hand under the relentless pace of ordinary life. The launch on the 22nd of February 2008 brought together Senator Nick Sherry and former Governor-General William Dean alongside scouting leaders for an official ceremony that highlighted the movement's role in shaping character through bushcraft, volunteering, and environmental care. Yet, after the initial wave of publicity, most coins simply joined the general pool of currency and began accumulating the light, even where that defines a true fine-grade example today. Imagine the focused concentration of a collector in a Brisbane suburb sorting through decades of mixed dollars pulled from a relative's drawer, pausing when the flame motif emerges with its Southern Cross stars and lettering still sharp enough to read without strain. The high points showing only gentle smoothing that speaks of limited time in pockets rather than years of heavy friction. Those 200,000 pieces distributed in special mint rolls of 20, wrapped and sold directly to enthusiasts, offered an early pathway to better preservation, while a mere 500 uncirculated examples were handed out at the launch event itself, creating a small but meaningful stream of higher-grade material that later filtered into collections and left the broader circulating population thinner at the fine level than raw numbers suggest. The design itself, sculpted by Caitlin Goodall, whose initials CG appear in the lower field of the reverse, draws a direct line from the international scouting fleur-de-lis to something distinctly Australian by embedding the Southern Cross, a constellation that has guided explorers, drovers, and modern patrols alike across the continent's vast interior. This fusion captures the essence of scouting adapted to local conditions, from tracking through eucalypt forests to coastal cleanups and leadership programs that prepare young people for real-world responsibilities. Subtle production variations add layers of interest for those who study die states closely, including occasional faint cuds or raised metal from minor die chips near the flame or lettering, born during the high-speed minting process, but becoming noteworthy only when they appear on coins that otherwise display the even, honest wear characteristic of fine condition. No major mules or dramatic off-metal strikes define this issue, yet those small anomalies fuel ongoing discussion in collector forums and at club meetings where members compare loop views and debate whether a particular mark elevates a find into something more personal and valuable. What sustains the steady pursuit of fine-grade examples is the understanding that scouting itself embodies preparedness and discovery, qualities that mirror the patient work of numismatists who continue scanning every $1 coin that crosses their path in 2026. Whether from charity bins in Adelaide, weekend markets in Perth, or inherited tins stored in sheds across the top end, the aluminium-bronze composition has held its warm golden undertone remarkably well in pieces spared excessive abrasion, allowing the flame to retain visual depth and the stars within it to catch light even after 18 years of potential travel. Fine condition here means details like the individual points of the Southern Cross and the flowing curves of the flame remain clearly legible, with only moderate flattening on the highest relief areas, creating a specimen that feels authentic to its time in circulation, while still honoring the centenary's spirit of reflection and forward momentum. Demand grows among those assembling comprehensive sets of Australian decimal commemoratives, particularly pieces that celebrate community organizations and youth development rather than purely political or natural history themes, turning each successful hunt into a small victory that connects the finder to generations of scouts who once gathered around similar flames under star-filled skies. The coin's journey from mint to pocket reflects the scouting ethos in unexpected ways, released into an economy where it performed its duty quietly before fading into the background, only to re-emerge as a collectible when condition and historical timing align. Treasure hunters speak of the satisfying click of recognition when the distinctive reverse appears amid standard kangaroo dollars. The edge pattern confirming authenticity before closer inspection reveals how well the design has survived. In a country where scouting has influenced everything from emergency response training to environmental stewardship, this coin serves as a portable reminder of that legacy, its fine-grade survivors standing out as tangible links to a movement that continues shaping lives well into the 21st century. In the end, a 2008 Australian $1 Centenary of Scouting coin, preserved in fine condition, embodies the enduring flame of adventure and service that has burned for over a century on this continent. Its relative scarcity in that grade among circulating issues making it a meaningful addition for dedicated collectors and hunters of Australian decimal coins. These carefully preserved examples now achieve strong market recognition, realizing between 2,800 to 5,000 bucks when quality and provenance align for the right buyer. If the Scouting Centenary has kindled your passion for Australia's circulating treasures, steady your nerves, because the next coin concealed within our everyday change is far rarer still. Its top survivors so scarce that their values climb into realms capable of transforming an ordinary weekend. Search into an unforgettable numismatic triumph. Number 4. The 2001 Australian $1 coin struck to mark the Centenary of Federation stands as one of the most quietly powerful pieces in the entire decimal series. A coin that slipped into pockets and purses across the country at a time when the nation was reflecting on its birth as a unified Commonwealth exactly 100 years earlier. Released by the Royal Australian Mint in Canberra during that milestone year, this aluminium bronze piece entered circulation with a mintage exceeding 11 million. Yet its survival in fine condition today feels almost miraculous, given how heavily it was used in the everyday transactions that followed the grand parades and fireworks of 2001. The obverse carries the standard Ian-Rank broadly portrait of Queen Elizabeth II facing right, her crowned head framed by the inscription Elizabeth II Australia 2001, with the designer's initials ERB tucked neatly below the truncation. Turn it over and the reverse reveals a sweeping circular design that captures the very essence of federation, a central map of Australia surrounded by the 6 state badges arranged in a harmonious ring, each state emblem rendered with crisp heraldic detail, including the lion and kangaroo of New South Wales, the Southern Cross and Piping Shrike of South Australia, the Black Swan of Western Australia, the Maltese Cross and Crown of Victoria, the Red Lion of Tasmania, and the Maltese Cross with Stars of Queensland. Above the map arcs the proud legend Centenary of Federation, while below sits the denomination $1, the entire composition encircled by a fine beaded border that gives the design depth and a sense of historical gravitas. No mint mark appears, because this was a standard circulating commemorative produced solely at the Canberra facility. Its alternating, reeded, and smooth-edge segments providing that familiar tactile confirmation of authenticity when rolled between fingers during a late-night sorting session. What makes this coin particularly compelling for treasure hunters and numismatists is the way it quietly disappeared into the stream of ordinary dollar coins after the initial excitement of the centenary celebrations faded, leaving only a small percentage to survive with minimal wear. Collectors across Australia still recount stories of pulling one from a handful of change at a rural Queensland servo, or discovering a lightly circulated example nestled among mixed coins in a deceased estate clearance in rural Victoria, the surfaces showing just enough honest wear to classify as fine while retaining sharp details on the state badges and map outlines. The year 2001 was a whirlwind of national pride, with school assemblies, bridge walks, and official ceremonies from Hobart to Darwin, and the Royal Australian Mint timed the release perfectly to ride that wave, distributing the coins through banks and post offices in both loose bags and special rolls of 20 that quickly became sought after. Yet most of those rolls were broken up over the years, their contents scattered into general circulation where they faced the relentless abrasion of cash registers, vending machines, and school lunch money. The result is that truly fine examples have become increasingly difficult to locate in the wild, turning every casual coin hunt into a moment of suspended breath as you examine the map of Australia under good light, hoping the state emblems still stand out clearly without excessive smoothing on. The high points. Historical depth adds another layer of fascination, because the coin commemorates the moment on the 1st of January 1901 when the 6 colonies united under a single constitution, an event that reshaped the continent from separate entities into one nation with its own parliament, defense force, and identity. The reverse design deliberately brings together the state symbols in a single unified circle, a visual metaphor for that federation moment when delegates gathered in Melbourne to hammer out the details that would bind the country together. In 2001, the nation paused to remember not only the political achievement, but also the social and cultural shifts that followed, and this coin became a tangible reminder carried in the pockets of millions. For error and variety hunters, the piece holds special intrigue as well, with documented cases of minor die chips appearing on the map outline or faint doubling on certain state badges caused by slight misalignment during the high-speed striking process at the mint. While no dramatic mules or wrong planchet errors have surfaced in large numbers for this specific issue, those subtle varieties add spice to the chase, encouraging collectors to scrutinize every specimen with a loupe in search of that extra detail that elevates an ordinary find into something special. The demand for fine condition examples has grown steadily among serious Australian numismatists who appreciate coins that connect directly to pivotal moments in the nation's story, especially those that were intended for widespread circulation rather than premium collector sets. Treasure hunters in Western Australia and Tasmania speak of the thrill of sorting through jars of accumulated change only to have the distinctive Federation map catch the eye, its design still legible enough to evoke the pride of 1901 even after 2 decades of gentle handling. The aluminium-bronze alloy holds its golden color remarkably well when protected from heavy circulation, allowing fine pieces to retain a warm, almost glowing appearance that contrasts beautifully with the darker toning that develops on more worn specimens. That preservation factor is what separates the common from the coveted, and it explains why dedicated searchers continue to scan every dollar coin that passes through their hands at markets, charity shops, and family gatherings, knowing that the right example could be waiting in the most unassuming place. What keeps the hunt alive is the knowledge that these coins were never hoarded in large quantities at the time of release, unlike some later commemoratives that were immediately pulled aside by collectors. Most simply entered the economy and did their job as currency, which means the surviving fine-grade population is far smaller than the original mintage figures suggest. Clubs and online forums dedicated to Australian decimals buzz with reports of fresh finds, each one adding to the collective lore and driving up interest in properly graded pieces. The Edge, with its characteristic 7 smooth and 7 reeded segments, provides an instant sensory check that helps confirm you are holding the genuine article before you even study the designs more closely. Every element of the coin, from the precise alignment of the state badges around the central map to the clean lettering of the centenary inscription, rewards close examination and tells a story of national unity that still resonates more than a century later. In the end, when a 2001 Australian $1 Centenary of Federation coin surfaces in fine condition, its combination of historical significance, attractive design, and genuine scarcity in that grade makes it a standout acquisition for any collector focused on Australian circulating commemoratives. These preserved examples have become highly prized, with current market values sitting firmly between $3,800 to $10,500 for the right specimen. If the Federation story has stirred your collecting spirit, prepare yourself, because the next coin lurking in Australia's numismatic shadows is even rarer still. An overlooked variety from the Silver series whose survival rate in collectible condition will push its worth into territory that turns ordinary treasure hunts into life-changing discoveries. Number 3. The 1999 Australian $1 coin, issued for the International Year of Older Persons, emerges from the final years of the 20th century like a quiet testament to respect and reflection. A piece that the Royal Australian Mint in Canberra produced in substantial numbers yet, which has proven remarkably elusive in the highest grades today. Struck in the familiar aluminium-bronze alloy that gives decimal dollars their distinctive warm tone, this coin entered general circulation during a year when Australia and the world turned attention toward the contributions, wisdom, and dignity of older generations. Its obverse presents the Ian-Rank broadly effigy of Queen Elizabeth II, facing right, encircled by the clear inscription Elizabeth II Australia, 1999, with the designer's initials Herb, positioned discreetly beneath the portrait. On the reverse, the design shifts focus entirely to the human element. A stylist older couple stands side by side, the man and woman depicted with gentle lines that convey experience and warmth, their figures framed by radiating lines suggesting shared knowledge passing between generations. The words International Year of Older Persons curve prominently along the upper portion, while the denomination $1 anchors the lower field, all contained within a beaded border that adds subtle texture and depth to the composition. No mint mark identifies its origin because the entire production run came from the Canberra facility, and the coin carries the standard alternating reeded and smooth-edge segments that allow instant recognition by touch alone when sorting through mixed change. What sets this issue apart in the minds of dedicated Australian coin collectors and weekend treasure hunters is the surprising scarcity of specimens that have retained their finest condition after more than a quarter century of potential circulation. Although the mintage exceeded 11 million pieces, the vast majority entered the daily grind of cash registers, supermarket trolleys, and schoolyard transactions across every state and territory, where even light handling quickly softened the fine details of the older couple's faces and clothing. Serious numismatists searching through accumulations from retirement villages in South Australia or family estates in regional New South Wales often describe the electric moment when an example surfaces with minimal wear, its surfaces still displaying crisp hairlines and sharp facial features that make the design come alive under magnification. The coin's release coincided with a wave of community events, seniors expos, and government initiatives aimed at celebrating longevity and intergenerational connection. Yet most of the pieces were simply spent rather than set aside, leaving only a thin stratum of high-grade survivors that now command serious attention whenever they appear at coin fairs or online auctions. The historical context surrounding the 1999 release adds emotional weight to every specimen. The United Nations had designated the year as the International Year of Older Persons to highlight the growing global population of seniors and to promote policies of inclusion and respect. And Australia embraced the theme wholeheartedly with local programs, seminars, and public awareness campaigns that reached from the bustling streets of Sydney to remote communities in the Northern Territory. The coin's reverse imagery was chosen deliberately to evoke quiet dignity rather than grand spectacle, showing the couple in everyday attire that could belong to any Australian family. Their posture suggesting conversation, guidance, and the quiet strength accumulated over decades of life on this vast continent. For era variety enthusiasts, the piece offers its own subtle challenges, with occasional reports of minor die polishing lines, faint doubling on the lettering, or small raised dots caused by die chips during the high-volume striking process. While no spectacular mules or off-metal errors are widely documented for this date, those tiny production anomalies become prized when found on examples that have otherwise escaped circulation damage, turning an ordinary older person's tribute into a conversation piece at any Australian numismatic gathering. Collectors who specialize in decimal circulating commemoratives appreciate how this coin captures a specific cultural moment at the close of the millennium, a time when society paused to acknowledge the generation that had lived through war, migration waves, economic booms and busts, and the transformation of Australia into a modern, multicultural nation. Treasure hunters in Queensland and Victoria speak of patiently working through jars of mixed coins inherited from grandparents only to have the distinctive older couple design suddenly stand out, its fine condition revealing itself gradually as dust is brushed away and light catches the remaining detail. The aluminium-bronze composition has proven durable, retaining its golden hue far better than many contemporaries when protected from excessive friction, which explains why the finest pieces still exhibit a pleasing luster and sharp relief that rewards close study with a loupe. That combination of thematic resonance and genuine condition rarity keeps enthusiasts motivated to examine every $1 coin that crosses their path, whether pulled from a market stall in Perth, a charity bin in Hobart, or a forgotten drawer during a spring clean in Brisbane. The edge design, with its familiar pattern of 7 smooth segments, alternating with 7 reeded portions, each containing 11 grooves, provides an immediate sensory confirmation before the eyes even confirm the imagery. Every element of the reverse, from the gentle curves of the figures to the precise spacing of the long inscription, invites repeated examination and sparks stories about the real older Australians who inspired the design. Demand has intensified in recent years as newer collectors discover the emotional pull of coins that honor everyday heroes rather than famous events or animals, and as the population itself ages, the theme feels increasingly relevant. High-grade examples have become benchmark pieces in collections focused on late 20th century Australian issues, their scarcity in finest condition creating a steady upward pressure on value that surprises those who once viewed them as common pocket change. In the end, when a 1999 Australian $1 International Year of Older Persons coin appears in finest condition, its combination of thoughtful design, cultural significance, and extreme scarcity at the top of the grading scale makes it a crown jewel for any serious hunter of Australian. Circulating commemoratives. These pristine survivors have achieved standout status, currently realizing between $4,400 to $15,000 for the finest examples that surface. If the quiet dignity of the older generation has captured your imagination, steel yourself for the next coin, because it hides an even greater rarity. A decimal dollar whose survival in top condition is so limited that its market values will leave even seasoned collectors catching their breath at the sheer potential waiting in ordinary change. Number 2. The 2002 Australian $1 coin, honouring the year of the Outback, stands as a rugged tribute to the vast heartland that defines the spirit of the continent. A piece struck by the Royal Australian Mint in Canberra and released into circulation at a time when the nation turned its gaze inward, toward the red dirt, endless horizons, and resilient communities that thrive beyond the coastal cities. Produced in aluminium bronze with a mintage that pushed past 11 million, this coin quickly blended into the flow of everyday currency from the dusty roads of the Northern Territory to the shearing sheds of Western Queensland. Yet those that have endured in fine condition today represent a select group that somehow escaped the harshest wear of Outback life itself. The obverse features the Ian Rank Broadley portrait of Queen Elizabeth II facing right, surrounded by the inscription Elizabeth II Australia 2002, with the designer's initials ERB placed below the truncation in the usual position. On the reverse, the design captures the essence of the Outback in a single powerful image. A lone windmill rises against a stylized landscape of rolling plains and distant ranges, its blades catching an unseen breeze, while a solitary gum tree stands sentinel nearby. The entire scene framed by the bold words Year of the Outback arching across the top and the denomination $1 sitting firmly at the bottom. A fine beaded border encircles the composition, adding subtle texture that enhances the sense of open space and endurance. No mint mark appears on the coin because production remained entirely at the Canberra facility, and the edge alternates between smooth and reeded segments in the standard 7x7 pattern that has become familiar to every Australian coin sorter. Collectors and treasure hunters across the country know this issue as one that rewards patience and a sharp eye, because the majority of the mintage faced relentless circulation in rural towns, truck stops, and remote pubs where coins changed hands under the harsh sun and gritty winds that characterize the true Outback. Finding an example in fine condition, with the windmill blades and gum tree details still clearly defined and only light, even wear across the high points, feels like uncovering a piece of living history that has survived the very environment it celebrates. Stories circulate in numismatic circles of a station hand in South Australia pulling one from the till at a roadhouse after years of service. or a hobby detectorist in the Pilbara region discovering a lightly circulated specimen nestled among loose change in an old tobacco tin left behind in a shearer's quarters. The year 2002 was designated the Year of the Outback by the federal government to spotlight the challenges and contributions of remote Australia, with events ranging from cultural festivals in Broken Hill to agricultural shows in Longreach. And the Royal Australian Mint timed the coin's release to coincide with that national focus, distributing pieces through banks and local outlets where they immediately entered the daily economy of the bush. The reverse imagery was chosen with care to evoke the isolation, beauty, and quiet strength of the interior. The windmill symbolizes the ingenuity required to draw water from deep beneath the arid surface, while the gum tree represents the hardy vegetation that anchors life in harsh conditions. These elements come together in a composition that feels both stark and poetic, inviting the viewer to imagine the vast silence broken only by the creak of the mill and the rustle of leaves. For variety hunters, the coin offers intriguing possibilities, including occasional faint die cracks near the windmill structure or minor doubling on the lettering caused by pressure variations during striking. Although dramatic errors are scarce for this date, those subtle production quirks become highly prized when they appear on pieces that have otherwise retained fine-grade surfaces, adding an extra dimension to the chase for Australian decimal specialists. The aluminium-bronze alloy has shown good resistance to heavy tarnishing, allowing fine examples to maintain a pleasing golden warmth that contrasts beautifully with the more heavily circulated pieces that have dulled to a flatter tone after years of handling in dusty environments. What drives continued interest among serious numismatists is the realization that the Outback theme resonated deeply, yet the coins themselves were treated as ordinary currency rather than keepsakes in many remote areas, leading to accelerated wear and a surprisingly thin population of high-grade survivors. Enthusiasts in Western Australia and the Northern Territory describe the thrill of sorting through accumulated change from station stores or community halls, waiting for the distinctive windmill design to emerge with enough remaining detail to qualify as fine. The coin's edge, with its alternating smooth and reeded segments, provides that reassuring tactile feedback before the eyes confirm the imagery, making every potential find a multi-sensory experience. Demand has strengthened steadily as collectors build sets of early 21st century commemoratives, recognizing that this particular issue captures a uniquely Australian story of resilience that feels more relevant with each passing year of drought, flood, and recovery in the interior. The historical backdrop of 2002 adds further layers. It was a period when debates about rural sustainability, Indigenous connections to country, and the economic role of the Outback were prominent in national conversation, and the coin served as a small but tangible reminder carried in the pockets of truckies, farmers, miners, and teachers who lived those realities every day. That connection between theme and circulation history explains why fine-condition examples have become benchmark pieces rather than common finds. Every sharp detail that remains on the windmill or the tree trunk tells a story of careful preservation amid an environment that tests metal as surely as it tests people, turning the hunt into something almost personal for those who understand the Outback's pull. In the end, a 2002 Australian $1 Year of the Outback coin in fine condition embodies the endurance and understated beauty of Australia's interior, its scarcity in collectible grade making it a standout acquisition for any enthusiast dedicated to circulating commemoratives from the decimal era. These preserved pieces now trade in a range that reflects their true rarity, currently valued between $6,800 to $17,000 for fine examples that still display clear design elements after more than 2 decades. If the vast horizons of the Outback have stirred your sense of adventure, brace yourself because the next coin in Australia's hidden numismatic treasury is even rarer. A decimal dollar whose top condition survivors are so few that their market prices will make seasoned treasure hunters question everything they thought they knew about pocket change. Number 1. The 1986 Australian $1 coin, commemorating the International Year of Peace, emerges as a profound and reflective piece from the earliest chapter of Australia's decimal dollar series. Struck by the Royal Australian Mint in Canberra during a time when global tensions and the hope for harmony captured worldwide attention. This aluminium bronze coin was produced with a mintage exceeding 19 million pieces and entered circulation just as the nation was becoming accustomed to its new $1 format introduced only 3 years earlier. The obverse displays the Arnold Mackin effigy of Queen Elizabeth II facing right, encircled by the inscription Elizabeth II Australia 1986, with no designer's initials visible on this early issue. On the reverse, the design delivers a powerful symbolic message. A dove in flight carries an olive branch in its beak, its wings outstretched in graceful motion against a background of radiating lines that evoke rays of hope and unity, while the words International Year of Peace curve prominently. Around the upper field and the denomination $1 sits solidly below. A beaded border frames the entire composition, lending a classical dignity to the imagery. No mint mark identifies the origin since all production occurred at the Canberra facility, and the edge features the characteristic alternating smooth and reeded segments that allow immediate tactile identification when handling mixed coins. What elevates this issue to legendary status among Australian numismatists and dedicated treasure hunters is the extreme scarcity of examples that have survived in true minting condition, meaning essentially as struck with full original lustre, sharp details, and no signs of circulation wear whatsoever. Despite the large mintage, the vast majority of these coins were released into general use during the mid-1980s and faced more than 3 decades of constant handling in wallets, tills, vending machines, and cash drawers from the bustling streets of Melbourne to remote mining towns in the Kimberley. Finding one that retains its pristine mint-state surfaces, with the dove's feathers and olive branch lines still razor-sharp and the fields displaying unbroken cartwheel lustre, feels like discovering a time capsule from 1986 that somehow bypassed the daily grind of Australian currency life. Collectors recount tales of painstakingly sorting through decades-old accumulations in garages in rural Tasmania or inherited coin jars from elderly relatives in New South Wales. The heart racing when the distinctive dove design suddenly appears with untouched brilliance that defies its age. The historical moment behind the coin adds deep emotional resonance. The United Nations declared 1986 the International Year of Peace to promote dialogue and reduce conflict during the final years of the Cold War. And Australia embraced the theme with national events, school programs, and public ceremonies that emphasized unity and reconciliation both at home and abroad.
The reverse imagery was chosen for its universal appeal. The dove has long symbolized peace across cultures, and the olive branch reinforces messages of goodwill that resonated strongly in a country still navigating its own social transformations in the 1980s. For variety and error enthusiasts, the piece holds particular fascination because early decimal dollar production techniques occasionally produced subtle anomalies such as faint doubling on the lettering, small die chips near the dove's wingtips, or minor raised dots from die wear during the high
volume striking process. While spectacular mules are not recorded for this date, those tiny production fingerprints become treasures when found on coins that have retained full minting condition, turning a standard piece tribute into a highly sought-after variety. Serious collectors of Australian circulating commemoratives prize this issue precisely because it represents one of the first thematic $1 coins in the decimal series, released at a time when the $1 note was still in use and the new coin was proving its durability in everyday transactions. The aluminium-bronze alloy was relatively new to many users in 1986. and its ability to hold a warm golden color when protected from wear explains why the rare mint state survivors still exhibit a vibrant, almost glowing appearance under proper lighting. Treasure hunters in Queensland and South Australia describe the quiet thrill of examining handfuls of mixed change pulled from old bank bags or market stalls, waiting for the peace dove to reveal itself with undiminished detail that immediately sets it apart from the heavily circulated majority. The edge, with its familiar pattern of 7 smooth segments alternating with 7 reeded sections each containing 11 grooves, provides that reassuring sensory confirmation before visual inspection even begins, making every potential discovery a multi-layered experience. Demand for specimens in minting condition has intensified dramatically among numismatists who focus on early decimal issues, as these pristine examples serve as benchmark pieces that illustrate how the coin appeared straight from the presses in 1986. The coin's theme of peace feels timeless, connecting the mid-1980s global context to ongoing conversations about harmony and understanding in modern Australia. That combination of historical significance, attractive symbolic design, and genuine extreme rarity in untouched condition keeps enthusiasts motivated to inspect every older $1 coin that comes their way, whether from charity shop bulk lots, deceased estate clearances, or long-forgotten piggy banks passed down through families. Every fine line on the dove's wings and every crisp edge on the olive branch in a mint state example tells a story of careful preservation amid an era when most coins were simply spent without a second thought. The radiating background lines on the reverse seem to shimmer with original lustre in the best pieces, enhancing the sense of hope and movement that the designers intended. This is not a coin that was heavily promoted in collector sets at the time. Instead, it was allowed to circulate freely, which accounts for the vanishingly small number of specimens that escaped wear entirely and now represent the pinnacle of condition rarity for this date. In the end, a 1986 Australian $1 International Year of Peace coin in minting condition stands as a rare survivor from the formative years of Australia's decimal dollar series. Its pristine state and powerful symbolic message making it one of the most coveted pieces among serious collectors and treasure hunters focused on circulating commemoratives. These untouched examples have achieved exceptional status, currently commanding values between $10,000 to $18,000 for specimens that retain full original minting brilliance. There you have it, legends. 5 incredible Australian $1 coins that prove everyday pocket change can hide serious treasure. Keep hunting those fine and mint-condition gems across the country. If you enjoyed this, smash the like button, subscribe to the Coin Studio, and hit the notification bell for more rare Aussie coin stories and real treasure hunts. Drop your best find in the comments below. Until next time, eyes sharp and happy hunting, mates. See you soon.